This video brought to you by our Patreons. Please consider supporting this channel and joining our Patreons at patreon.com/NovaWing24.
Hi there folks, my name's NovaWing24 and welcome to the Nova Wrap, your one-stop location for your simulation release news and goings on from the week that was. So here we are on Sunday the 22nd of November 2020 for another fun-filled and action-packed episode, and we're going to jump straight into it with quite a interesting aircraft release this week for Microsoft Flight Simulator, with the release from Wing42 of their rendition of the Blériot 11. Now, for those who may not know, the Blériot 11 was, funnily enough, the 11th aircraft produced by Blériot, so Louis Blériot, who was, along with the Wright brothers, considered very much the father of flight in aviation, and it was actually, funnily enough, the first. My understanding is the first mass-produced or sort of large volume produced aircraft in the world. So from produced in 1909, and was actually the aircraft where Louis Blériot actually achieved his initial flight, his prize-winning flight across the English Channel. It's derived from that, and would actually go on to serve with various fledgling air forces around the world and set many records internationally, including the first international flight, the first flight over the Swiss Alps, and the first flight over the Pyrenees, and the longest flight of being over 500 kilometers. So this aircraft is interesting because it is full of a lot of firsts, and there's a lot of history in this aircraft, and bringing this one to life is no mean feat, and the team over at Wing42 has absolutely done an incredible job doing just that. This aircraft looks insanely detailed and incredibly beautiful, incredible high definition, high resolution textures, high fidelity 3D model with PBR texturing throughout, a huge number of custom animations including all the various control cables, wing warping, which is how the aircraft was controlled as well. A lot of because they were still learning how to make aeroplanes fly, and the actual individual valves opening and closing on the engine is all modeled as well. Like, it's absolutely nuts. In terms of the flight model, it's actually interesting because there are two versions of this aircraft actually included. There's a variety of liveries and two actual airframe versions included. So the first one is the original version powered by the ANSI W two-stroke engine, and the second one is the more common and the one that was part of the mass production of the Gnome Omega 7 rotary engine. Now, this is a time of aviation when, flying wasn't really that fast, and as I said, it was all about the beginnings of flight and aviation, and as such, you have a lot of very interesting renditions of aircraft as they were first sort of seen, and ones that soldiered on and lived on into the future as either replicas or as historical aircraft, including one at Old Rhinebeck as well in America. So as I said, this is an incredibly highly detailed rendition of this aircraft. Looks absolutely amazing. There's going to be a lot there for you. There are no GPS, RNAVs, approaches, SIDS, stars, or any of that in this one. This is flying. This is absolute city of pants, no mod cons flying. And if you want to have an understanding of how challenging flying truly can be and how to get a concept of how to relate to your aircraft, this is an add-on you really want to look at getting. You really should consider getting. Now, this one, if you do want to get it, is available from Wing42, coming in about $24 US, or your regional equivalent, available now from Wing42. Continuing on with the Microsoft Flight Simulator releases this week, we got a sort of release from developer Perfect Flight, with their release of a Discovery Flights pack called, they call it the Aerial Chauffeur Pack. Now, long-time viewers of my channel will know that I do not have a particularly high opinion of Perfect Flight. My opinion of them is it's not good. Let's just say that it's not good. However, I'm looking at this one, and I'm actually willing to give them a second chance with this one. This is interesting. Very recently, they got called out for claiming that they were selling a brand new King Air, when all it was just a couple of textures for the default King Air 350i. And it said it's a common thing that they do. They say that look at this amazing aeroplane that we're selling you with these saved flights that we're calling missions when they're not actually missions; they're just saved flights. And all it is a text is a clone of a default aircraft with the texture pack. They're kind of doing that again here. They're saying that you got to, but this time, instead of calling it a Cessna, their own Cessna 172, they're saying that it is a livery for the default aircraft, which is okay. That's cool. At least you're owning that one. That's good. This one is just give you 10. So the claim is that they give you 10 Discovery Flights missions throughout New England in a variety of different weather and time and weather situations. And give you a variety of navigation charts for all destination airports included. Now, just a couple of things, as I said, like I'm willing to give it a very connection. My problem with this add-on, and again, the information of this, and as I said, this is the comment that I repeat ad nauseum about a lot of developers that are rushing stuff and throwing stuff out there for the new sim, is that there is very little information here. For a start, the developer needs to remember that when they're taking promotional screenshots, turn dev mode off. That's the first thing I need to say. Second thing is, you tell me that there's the advertising that there are 10 Discovery Flight missions, whatever you want to call them. The screenshot you supply only shows 7. So where are the other 3? Are they secret? Are they locked? Were they not developed when you did the screenshots? Are you lying to us? We don't know. And this is part of the problem with Perfect Flight, is that the community's trust in them is through the floor, and pulling a stunt like this is not helping. As I said, and there's no information about, is there custom audio included with this? Is there special events that could trigger and happen, stuff like that? There is nothing. It's just a very bland, very generic storyline of that you are hired as a personal pilot for an eccentric writer for a summer. As I said, like the concept sounds really good. I'm really kind of interested, especially if they tell an interesting narrative. But the track record that Perfect Flight has, and my experience, is that they just throw a bunch of flight plans together and call it a mission pack and charge you a stupid amount of money for it. I'm happy to be proven wrong with this one, but Perfect Flight, you're not giving anybody confidence here. So just bear that in mind. If anybody does try it, please let me know what your experience it is, and if it does have anything of interest in there, because the information you're supplied by Perfect Flight is rubbish. In terms of price, you're looking at $12 for this, which I had mixed thoughts on. It's $1. If there is 10 trips in here, then you're looking at just over $1 per trip, so fairly spot on with the pricing, I think. So not too bad with the pricing. But again, is it just a flight plan, or does it actually have audio? Does it have story? We don't know, and there's no information in the add-on about that. So buyer beware from previous experience with Perfect Flight. If you want to pick this one up, pick this one now from Sim Market, available now. Continuing from that onto scenery releases, as there seems to be a infinite supply of scenery releases for the new sim. So going to split this scenery discussions into sort of things about either sort of your more well-known developers and then your lesser-known developers. So we're going to get started with Simwings. Simwings come to life with 2 releases this week in cooperation with Aerosoft. Both of these are essentially, well, the first one is a straight port over. So this is La Gomera Airport in the Canary Islands. It's, again, from looking through the screenshots, comparing it to the prepared version, it's a straight port of the prepared V4, V5 version. They do look like they've improved the ground polys for the taxiways and the runways, but other than that, the buildings, the textures, the internal modeling, all straight port overs. What is interesting is that the price point for new users is lower than the prepared version, so it's coming in at $16, whereas the prepared version is coming in at 25. So the price point's lower, content is the same, so yeah, okay, I'm pleased with that, but it doesn't appear to be any discount if you're an existing owner of the prepared version. But if you want to pick this one up, available now from Sim Market. In the other release from SimWeeks this week was released of an airport that is kind of close to my heart, is Ibiza Airport, or Lima Echo India Bravo, which is of course the famous party island. I remember seeing a very just a group just starting out. As a support act called Example, as they were just a support act back then. But anyway, moving on. So this is a partial port. So they have ported over the vast majority of the airport. However, they have updated the layout. So when they've gone over and redone the textures in the ground poly, they have actually also now updated the layout of the airport to comply with the apron and taxiways as it appears in 2020. So there is that. There's also sort of the undulating sort of rolling terrain of the runways as well, also modelled, but otherwise the buildings and those models, they're all straight port overs. Again, same as we saw with Ligmora, as we're looking at lower price than the prepared versions coming in. This one's coming in at $18 or the original equivalent, available now from Aerosoft. Continuing on with scenery releases this week from Team Over Digital Design, saw the release of their rendition of Salzburg Airport for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, not a lot of information on this one. This one is so a good look. Digital Design do great work. This is a port over of their prepared version. They've reused all the models. Can't fault them for that. The models are pretty good. Texturing looks a little old, but the modeling itself has definitely come across. It looks like potentially they've even updated them, may have updated as well, so definitely can't fault that. PBR materials and textures used throughout the rendition, the airport rendition, also models a lot of POIs outside the airport. That is important for visual navigation as well. So overall, they've put some work into it. They've definitely put some effort in this one. This one's available from your favorite flight sim retailer, coming in for about $21 or your original equivalent, available now. Continuing on with scene releases, this time released from SimArc. So their release of their rendition of Islamabad International Airport. Again, this one's a port over. The buildings, the content is all ported over, but then the interiors of the buildings, the interior modeling, stuff like that, it's all ported over. But they've definitely added new ground polys, new ground textures, new taxiway textures, and updated lighting engine to fully support the new sim as well. Includes animated jetways as well, which is always good to see. Full now support for PBR texturing on the ground polys and most of the buildings as well. So, good to see. As I said, like they're leveraging off, and as I said, they are putting some work into it. But still, it looks pretty good. If you're going to this one, looking at $15 or original equivalent, available now from SimMarket. And if you're a previous owner of the prepared version, you can get this one for about $12. So you get a couple of dollars off. You don't get a lot, but you get a couple bucks off. Available now from SimMarket. Continuing on with more releases, this time from developer Central Sim. So the release of their rendition of Rafael Hernandez Airport. And again, this is in Puerto Rico. Again, this is a port over. This one overall looking pretty good. I got to admit that looking through this one, although it is a port, it's a really good port. Like, they've definitely sort of gone through that. They've seen that the ground imagery that they're using, for the most part, it looks like they're either reusing the Microsoft ones, or at least they've updated their ground textures. So it looks pretty good. Modeling of all the buildings looks pretty damn amazing as well. So definitely can't really fault this one. And again, modeling some of the stuff outside the airport surrounds as well to ensure that you got great visual references for your approach. So this one's coming in. Now this one's a really weird pricing. This one. So the standard price for this one is about $15. It's currently on a launch special for $10. Now here's the weird part: is that it's actually cheaper. Even if you're an existing owner of the, from what I can tell from the press release, is that if you're an existing owner of their version of this airport for Prepared or FSX, you get a discounted price for this one. It's actually cheaper to not take advantage of your discount and just buy it new than it is to get the reduced price for existing owners. So Yeah, that's weird. Not sure what's going on with that. That one's available now from SimMarket. Continuing on with airport releases, this time from the guys of a UK 2000 released their latest port over of Inverness Airport for Microsoft Flight Simulator. So first released, this one was for their HD version of this was released last year for F6 Prepared and X-Plane 11. And this Scottish airport has now been ported over to MSFS. There is I got to admit, it looks really good. Like I will be the first to admit that the way they've implemented it is really good. It looks like that they've used the best satellite or aerial imagery available, whether it's theirs or Microsoft's. They've definitely doing it. It looks really good. The ground poly looks really good. The taxiways look great. The buildings look absolutely phenomenal. So although it is not, it is a pretty much a port over. They've definitely cleaned it up and put a lot of work into it, so I'll give them that. Price point I think is a little high. It's coming in for about $25 or your original equivalent, available now from UK 2000. If you're an existing owner of the previous versions for X-Plane 11 or Prepared, you get 50% off, available now from UK 2000. Continuing on with scenario releases, this time from SimBreeze, saw their port over of their release of their rendition of Dusseldorf International Airport. Now, again, I've said this before, there's another developer that's just put nothing in it. I've got no information all about have they updated it, have they improved it, does it even use PBR? I don't know, because the sim release is just literally just the copy pasta from the Wikipedia article about the airport, so eh. Looking at the visuals though, looking at the images and what's been released, it looks pretty good. The buildings, the 3D models, they're definitely straight port overs. The internal buildings and stuff on the modeling and stuff like that, that is all straight port overs. The taxiways, the ramps, they're all using custom MSFX ground poly, so that's looked pretty good. The integration with snow and seasonal conditions looks really good. That looks really, really good, and that's really well done. The lighting engine looks great, definitely over the new sim. So I'm going to say it's been done, at least it's been done pretty well, I think. Now, if you are I have to commend the price point though, it's pretty awesome. So this one's coming in at $12, 12 US dollars, if you're for your original equivalent for a new customer. If you're an existing customer, you can pick this one up for $6 from available now from SimMarket. Continuing on with more scenery releases this week, at this time a new development for the sim from developer Vertical Sim. So the release of a GA airport of Clearwater Air Park for the new sim. So this is a small Floridian airport which has actually just been updated in late 2019 with a new newly resurfaced to 4,000-foot runway, and looks pretty damn awesome, this one. So full PBR texturing has been used throughout, high resolution 3D models, custom 3D models for all the airport buildings. Photoreal, from looking at the image I'm looking here, the underlying photoreal looks a little sketchy in places, but overall looks pretty good, and for $5 looks pretty damn awesome. Not a bad pricing for this one. And this one is available now from Vertical Sim. Alright, so this is now moving into the second part of the scenery releases here, and this is the part where there is usually very little information, and these are all new in the market developers, and I am going to be questioning a lot of this stuff. So first cab off the rank is a developer Red Wing Sim, with their release of Lyon International Airport in France. There is zip information about this, copy pasta from Wikipedia. Now, looking at the screenshots though, I have to admit that overall it is looking pretty good. The buildings look very well detailed. The ground poly that they're using and the layout of the apron looks correct from what I can tell. Looking just at a quick look at some of the big map images, looks pretty much spot on. Does look like they're using PBR throughout, and they're putting in a lot of the VOR, the VFR landmarks that you need for approaching the airport in the town, including local communications towers. So that looks pretty good, despite the fact that they're giving no information about the product. It looks pretty good. Price might be a little on the XY side. You're looking at $20 or your original equivalent, available now from SimMarket. continuing on with the releases, this time from the new developer Terra Pearl Studios with their release of Seku Airport and Marina for Microsoft Flight Simulator. So this is part of the Pacific Northwest on the Olympic Peninsula. Now this is a full PBR high definition rendition of the airport as it appears in 2020. It's gone through, it provided custom pavement, custom ground textures, custom ground polys. A lot of interesting clutter through here. I'll be honest, I've got mixed feelings about this add-on. Like, look, again, just going through and having a look at the level of detail it's gone through in this airport, I am genuinely impressed. I think the underlying imagery is not bad. I think that the modeling is spectacularly awesome. The integration into the sim is great. They've actually gone to the detail of actually making sure that all the vegetation outside the airport fence is sort of as close as possible to the real thing. Again, comparing to satellite imagery. And some of the clutter they've got going is pretty damn awesome. And the visuals they've done of the marina are also really good. So one of the complaints that I have about the new sim is that when you have harbors and marinas, they're not really modeled very well. And they're really important when you're operating near the coastline. So this is really, really good. My only concern is the price point. Is I look at the price point, the price here, and we're going $15, and I'm like, I look at the detail and I look at the level of detail from the Vertical Sim release for $5 and go, yeah, okay, yeah, this is more than that, but it's a single runway ops GA airstrip, like, yeah. So that's probably the only thing for me that lets down. But as I said, and the information, yeah, not too bad, looking pretty good, available now from Sim Market. Continue on other releases from brand new developer RD Scenery. This is OHC Riverview in Michigan. Literally, there are 4 lines in the description for this, which is high quality texture, night light custom, high detail ground, custom object. So, my problem with this is that I look at this and go, they look suspiciously like default structures. They don't look like custom 3D models. They look like default structures. Also, why, when I compare 2 different screenshots, does the concrete texture change direction between 2 screenshots? I have so many concerns with this, and the photo reel underneath it it's either the default one that ships with the sim, or it's worse than default. So I would be putting lots of questions on this. Now, yes, they've used PBR, like they've used PBR for environmental PBR on the taxiways, but the texturing they're using on the taxiways, questionable at best. If you're wanting to risk it, this one is coming in for $8 or original equivalent, available now from Sim Market. Alright, okay, on to this release from new developer LD Improvement. Now, I am absolutely going to tear this apart. So, this is Sierra Bravo Mike Oscar, which is a Brazilian airport, Zumbi dos Palmeiras. Zip information in the description. Basically, the information says you can see runway and textures are not clean at all, so be careful of engine ingestion. So I'm not sure if the developer understands how airports work, but yes, the tarmac is very well used at this airport, and I'm comparing this to satellite imagery, 2020 satellite imagery, I'd like to point out, by the way, and going, yeah, okay, the concrete is very scuffed and worn, absolutely, but you don't ingest stuff off that, because that would be FOD. That would be FOD, and FOD control is very, very big at airports, particularly international ones. It's kind of a big deal. So I don't know what that's about. Secondly, the modeling of the buildings is not even close. It's terrible. They are default buildings. The one that looks like it, what's interesting is that the main terminal for this airport is very unique in its shape. And I was trying to figure out why the main terminal building never features in the screenshots, and it's always off in the distance or at night. It's because the model of it is terrible, and from what I can tell, it looks absolutely terrible. It looks almost nothing like the real thing. It's not stepped like the real thing is. It's not even the right color. So there's a big red flag. the hangars and the F are from the FBO at the western end of the runway of the airport. He slapped a single hangar there where there should be a collection of five. So the ground text of the ground is awful, and he's charging. Okay, admittedly, it's not hugely expensive. It's $10, but that this is not okay. As I said, I'm comparing this to satellite imagery from Bing and going, if I'm looking at what this is, which I'm assuming is then what is in the sim, then this is not an improvement. Like, no, it's not. It could, yeah, I'd be very questioning this one. And this developer is apparently all about providing low cost improvements to airports. But no, for this one, straight up. But if you guys want to get it, that's up to you. Available now from Sim Market. All right, moving on into other senior releases this week from MXI Design. So MXI Design, I really like the look of your stuff. So this is their rendition of Rijeka Airport in Croatia. But you need to give us more information, please. Okay, so this is really interesting, this release, because they've released this one for both Microsoft Flight Simulator and for X-Plane 11. The release looks fairly basic. So the modeling of the airport buildings is very basic. Texturing could leave a little bit to be desired. The ground poly is not bad, but the imagery it sits on is a bit rough. For the Microsoft Flight Simulator one, I probably would have just stuck with whatever the default imagery is and just put your airport over the top of it. But I'm guessing that because they put the development through in parallel with their X-Plane 11 version, that they've just sort of just used the same generic grass texturing as the underlay rather than using actual photoreal, which is a bit disappointing. But the Microsoft Flight Simulator version, the buildings, look, as I said, they're basic modeling, but they look okay. So if you're wanting to add it to your collection, again, I'm thinking a little pricey for what the quality that you're getting, but you're looking at $17 original equivalent from Sim Market for the MSFS version. Now, what's interesting is that the X-Plane 11 version looks exactly the same, just a little bit not as vibrant, but that comes in for cheaper. That comes in for $15. So interesting note, that one. But yes, both of those are available for different sims, available from Sim Market. So that was a great segue into X-Plane 11 with that release from MXI Design. And so we continue on with X-Plane releases this week from France VFR. And this is actually another interesting one, actually, because this is a dual release as well across X-Plane and across Prepared. So this week saw the release from them of Clermont-Ferrand Airport in France for both X-Plane 11 and for Prepared V4 and V5. Now this is a high detailed resolution. It's a rendition of Clermont-Ferrand Auvergne Airport as it appears in 2020 with up-to-date photoreal textures, terrain, all airport buildings modelled in high definition with accurate 3D models, a variety of custom and generic 3D objects for the airport clutter, as well as providing a variety of custom autogen for the surrounding area, as well as a number of custom 3D objects for VOR references on the approach. Now, whether you're picking this up for X-Plane 11 or whether you're picking it up for Prepared, you're looking at paying $24 or your original equivalent, available now from France VFR. Alright, so I should probably finish the rest of the X-Plane 11 news before I continue on with that. So, other X-Plane 11 news this week saw the release from Thoranda Designs of their latest aircraft, the de Havilland Canada DHC-2 Beaver. Now, this aircraft is a fascinating aircraft for me. It's very, not a lot of them were produced, but they are such an incredible workhorse, and are just such an iconic part of bush aviation in North America, and Canada especially, but really North America and really around the world, actually. Of such a versatile STOL aircraft being able to operate off wheels, tundra tires, skis, or floats, it really is quite an impressive aircraft, and providing connections to remote communities around the world for many, many years. Now, this particular rendition of the aircraft is part of their Dynamic Generation series, which provides some really interesting little features, leveraging off the new features of X-Plane 11, including a fully customizable on-the-fly instrument panel, where you want to be able to swap out a variety of different gauges and different layouts. You can do it on the fly. You can also update your liveries and contents as well, without leaving the sim, which is pretty kind of cool, kind of interesting. This one includes full support for 4K textures, PBR materials throughout. The aircraft flight model has been accurately modeled to represent the aircraft as she flies in real life, and especially along its unique flight dynamics with its use of flaps even in flight to maintain its stability as well. Also have been accurately modeled the flight characteristics and stall capabilities for the aircraft as well as a variety of interesting little quirks of the aircraft, including the wobble pump, the ratcheting carb heat lever, and the manually pumped flap system with direction valve as well. Variety of other animations also included, as well as extra features including belly tanks with realistically simulated weight, momentum, rotational inertia, and drag characteristics, full engine dynamics of the radial engine also accurately modeled as well, and a full custom high quality F-mod bass sound system all done as well. So much going on in this aircraft, and my good friend Bill Geode has taken it for a flight and is absolutely in love with it. He thinks it is one of the best airplanes ever, and coming from the man who loves his Tomcat, that is a big deal. This one's coming in for $40 or the original equivalent, available now from xplane.org. Continuing on with X-Plane releases this week, saw another release, so we saw a freeware release this week from a user that goes by the screen name of M Sparks, and they've released an enhancement pack for the default 747 that ships with X-Plane 11. Now, one of the things that many people had complained about with the default 747 is that it was not necessarily the most accurate in how it flies or its systems modeling, and which I look at it and basically go, it's a thing, because default aircraft is supposed to be near enough, not supposed to have to be hyper accurate. But it's interesting that this developer has actually sort of come over and actually sort of started working and update these systems as a word, much like what the Zebo mod has done for the 737 in X-Plane 11, and much like that has been done for the A320 in Microsoft Flight Simulator as well. So by fly-by-wire simulation, so I just almost forgot their name for a second there. But so this rendition updates the flight dynamics, also provides improvements to the flight management system, implementation of the hydraulic systems, and a complete overhaul of the navigation system as well. It also includes some updates to the auto land thrust management systems and a variety of other tweaks and fixes to the system and displays as well. So there's a lot going on here. It's really interesting. They've also included some updates to VR support as well, which is really interesting, and a whole heap of stuff there. It's too long to go through, but if you are interested in wanting to improve this one, you can definitely be part of this. It's an active and evolving project available from GitHub. Link will be in the description down below, and this one is a free release for the community, available now. Moving out of the X-Plane 11 world and moving into the world of the Prepared. And of course, we covered off one release earlier, which was for France VFR. But in the other release for the Prepared world this week, we saw the release this week from MSK Productions of their rendition of Sharjah International Airport in the United Arab Emirates. Now, this is an interesting airport, this one, because this is primarily a cargo hub for air freight, for freight both coming into the Middle East and also routing through to various other international destinations, providing as a centralized hub for many cargo carrying airlines around the world. Now, as this rendition of the airport is accurate as appears during 2020, all major airport buildings have been modelled in high definition with high definition textures. Includes all taxiways and runways, all detailed and provided in custom PBR texturing as well. Full custom set of night lighting and full support for custom SOD jetways and hand definition ground textures have been painted and made for this release as well. And this one's coming in for Prepared V4 and V5 for $24 or the original equivalent, available now. Moving on to a different flight simulator, moving into the world of IL-2 Sturmovik, saw the release over the last week of two new products for them. One expected, one different. So the first one we saw release their latest in their collector plane series, where their release of the Hawker Hurricane Mark II. Now, although it is primarily known as being a stalwart of the Battle of Britain and being the main, although not as glamorous as the Super Marine Spitfire, it was definitely the one that was actually performed more duties, and not only served in with distinction with as a fighter, it would also serve as a ground attack aircraft. What many people don't know is that many of them were actually supplied, hundreds of them were actually supplied to the Russians as part of a lend-lease service, a lend-lease system, and they were shipped to Russia and to as the Russian armaments were sort of starting to come up and sort of spin up, and to help modernize the outdated Russian or Soviet war machine. Many of these provided by Britain to be able to provide a comparable air combat capability. Now, this provides a variety of different a variety of different versions of the Hurricane Mark II that was provided to the Russians, including several homegrown modifications that were made in country in Russia. So the first one is, not only does it include for content for Russian campaigns, it also includes color schemes and modeling of the Hurricane Mark II as it served in both the European and North African theaters as well. So it includes main variants is the model with the sort of the default sort of model, which includes 8 Browning 303 machine guns. There was a modification done in country which had 12, so an additional 2 in each wing. So you could for a total of 12 303 machine guns. There was the Mark II-C, which included 4 20mm Hispano Mark II cannons. There was the Mark II-D, which was, so Mark II-C and Mark II-D both served in North Africa. And 2C also served as a night fighter with the Royal Air Force in the European theatre as well. But the Mark II-D includes 2 40mm Vickers S anti-tank guns as well as 2 303s. And there was a local in-country Soviet modification, which included 2 20mm SH VAK cannons and 2 12.7mm machine guns, as well as a variety of Soviet air-to-ground munitions. As a variety, it also includes modifications including tropical air filters and a full high-detail rendition of the Merlin 20 engine as well. Variety of different custom paint schemes included, both ones that operated in the on the Eastern Front, as well as those that also operated in North Africa and in Europe as well. This was available for $20 or original equivalent, available now from your favorite retailer. In the other interesting release for IL-2 Stromovik, and this is making me think more and more that IL-2 is definitely the DCS, but for the Second World War content, and maybe DCS World should start focusing more on modern stuff rather than to just leave the Second World War stuff to 1C Game Studios. So there is this week of Tank Crew Clash at Prokofia. This is really interesting because basically this is like the combined arms content that was released for DCS World, where you get a bunch of tanks. It's a flight sim where you have a bunch of tanks. In fact, it's 10 tanks. You get 5 Allied tanks and 5 German tanks. Includes 2 historically scripted campaigns, a 10,000 square kilometer map, full VR support. You can actually play not only on that map, you can also play on any other IL-2 map as well. And it is capable of being integrated as part of bigger, grander campaigns as well. So, kind of interesting the path that they've gone with this one. It visually looked kind of impressive, and as I said, it's always interesting. Like we joke about sometimes that having combined sims and whatever, but more and more we're actually starting to see it become a reality. So, yeah, kind of interesting. And if you want to pick this one up and add it to your flight simulation and now tanking experience, you're looking at paying $80 or original equivalent, available now from 1C Studios. Moving out of flight simulation and moving into the permanent way, so the release this week of from Train Simulator of their latest route add-on, the Karawankaban route of Libonia, Villach, and Treviso. So this is the tri-border area between Italy, Austria, and Slovenia, with the rail service operating between all three of it. And this particular scenario and this particular route includes 135 kilometers of railways between those 3 major areas, covering the tri-border area between Austria, Slovenia, and Italy. Includes 33 highly detailed train stations throughout the Limestone Alps, and allowing for the broader crossing between them as well, and through the Currawunkin Tunnel going through the Limestone Alps as well. So it's very interesting, a lot of very challenging mountain and underground terrain driving for you in this situation as well. Now, along with the routing, you also get the highly detailed rendition of the OBB 1293 locomotive, as well as a variety of AI-only locomotives, some rolling stock, and 7 career scenarios are all included as well. And this was coming in for $40 or your original equivalent, available now on Steam. And finally, rounding out the simulation release news for this week was the release of an interesting little title here. They're always kind of curious, these ones, called Mars Horizons. With, of course, humanity starting to look to the heavens once again and sort of dream of going to the moon and Mars, and perhaps even beyond. This is an interesting timing for this one. It's very simple graphics, but essentially it is a simulation management game where you sort of run a major space agency, where you're leading it from the dawn of your space age all the way through to landing astronauts on Mars. So you can reshape humanity's journey into the cosmos through this one as well. You have 5 unique space agencies, each with their own trait spaces and vehicles, or you can create your own custom agency. And goes through a lot of the challenges of launching satellites, cruise spacecraft, and going through and exploring and setting up colonies around the solar system. This one is actually interesting in that it's also backed by actual science teams and endorsed and sort of supported by ESA, so the European Space Agency, and the UK Space Agency as well, in full collaboration with this one. So kind of cool and great to see there's a bit of history, a bit of actual context coming through in here as well, published by Irregular Corporation. So looking pretty interesting, this one, coming in at $20 or your original equivalent, available now on Steam. And with that, folks, that does now round out the Nova Wrap for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget, as always, to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy these videos and want to see more. And of course, as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by finding me on Facebook and on Twitter. Just search NovaWing24. Thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.